It's a really dangerous time of day, but Lee-yeon doesn't care, which is why she is out here taking care of a tree. She just finishes pruning it and gives it a nutrient injection before assuring the tree that it will be okay. At this point, one would think she is crazy, but then she asks the tree why the mountain owner has abandoned it and the others, making her look even more crazy. She scoffs at the owner's nonchalance towards the trees and plans to check a few more trees before she heads home. It's a kind thing to do, but tonight looks too calm to be normal. Even so, to Lee-yeon, this night is like every other night, because her day went by like every other day, filled with work and dealing with clients. Now, she's conducting her routine checks on abandoned trees, not knowing that in these mountains an injured man is begging to be saved. He is about to fall into a pit and promises to tell his pursuer all he knows, just to be spared. His pursuer, who is clearly a deviant, mocks him for begging to be saved. He then tells his victim that he should be begging to be finished off, as the show has just begun. After that declaration, he stomps the man into the hole. It is at this point that Lee-yeon accidentally walks into the picture, although she hasn't been spotted yet. From a distance, she watches in fear, asking herself what she is witnessing. Finally, she concludes that it's a murder scene that needs to be reported right away, so she reaches into her overalls to get her phone while slowly backpedaling. Unfortunately for her, she steps on a twig that snaps immediately, alerting the deviant who is covering up the victim. As he stops what he's doing, cold sweat rushes down Yeon's face. She hopes she hasn't been caught and is stunned to see that there's another body by the deviant, which makes her confirm the guy is a professional killer. Since Lee-yeon can't tell if he noticed her or not, she wonders if she should move, knowing fully well that if she moves, she will be spotted. At this point, she doesn't know what to do, but then the deviant spots her, putting her in a tighter position. With a sinister smile on his face, the deviant addresses Lee-yeon, asking her if she doesn't plan to run away now. Hearing the words, "run away," is enough encouragement for Lee-yeon to bolt away as fast as possible. The deviant, still with an evil smile on his face, watches her dash off, giving her a head start before he goes after her. Lee-yeon, while making her way through the dimly lit, bushy mountains, succeeds in getting a hold of the police and tells them what's going on. Now, instead of the police focusing on the fact that Lee-yeon is in danger, they are more focused on whether or not she is sure it is a person being buried. When she assures them she knows what she saw, they try to ID her, and after telling them her name, she begs that they come before she meets her end. The officer on the phone promises Lee-yeon that officers are being dispatched to her location immediately, but warns her that if she is pranking them, she will be fined. Lee-yeon agrees, repeating that the officers should hurry, when she notices some strings about to come in contact with her neck. When they finally do, Lee-yeon is at the mercy of the deviant, who mockingly tells her she dropped her chainsaw. He then mockingly admonishes her to take better care of it and hands it over to her, while she wonders if this is her end. All her life she has lived quietly without trouble, and she is finally about to achieve her dream life, so she doesn't understand why she will perish in the hands of a killer. The determination to live lights a fire in Lee-yeon, motivating her to take the chainsaw and bash it on the deviant. When she looks up, to her surprise, he is still okay, with a little bruise on his face and a scared look in his eyes. Lee-yeon doesn't understand the look, but then the second guy who is about to be buried comes up from behind and strikes the deviant in the back of his head. Lee-yeon is shocked to see this, staring in horror as the deviant tries to fight back, but ends up losing consciousness and passing out. When the man confirms the deviant is down, he drops the rock he used and dashes off. Lee-yeon, on the other hand, stays back, staring at the collapsed deviant, panicking. Well, that is why this man will end up as her secret patient. A vegetative patient that will be bedridden for 2 years. For now, he is still in a coma, 2 years after the incident that brought Lee-yeon to him. Lee-yeon, on the other hand, is going about her tree doctor business. She has just checked a tree and discovers it's suffering from constipation. The principal looks shocked when she tells him this, seeking a clearer explanation. So Lee-yeon tells him the tree has a pooping problem. She adds that whether it is a plant or a person, excretion is important, a theory she calls the healthy bowel movement. But the man still doesn't get it. Out of frustration, however, he shouts at the top of his voice, demanding a clearer explanation. frightening some kids nearby in the process. When the principal notices the kid's reaction, he reverts to a more calm mood and pleads with Yeon to save the tree. He points out that the tree is the school's official tree and a symbol of the children's greenery. Yeon can handle it and assured the man that the treatment process isn't difficult. According to her, it's just when nutrients go in, but have a hard time being excreted, like humans. What she doesn't know is that under that principal's pleading is a dubious old man who sees her as foolish and intends to use that to his advantage. He plans to do that by making her work herself to exhaustion fixing the trees, only to ruin them again afterwards. He isn't even paying attention to Yeon's explanations, and internally smiles mischievously, intending to get his treatment fees refunded and even sue for damages. It looks like he has everything in the bag when Yeon calls out to him and tells him he has something he's hiding. Sensing the Yeon is unto him, the principal starts to feel uneasy. She then tells him that she heard the school recently expanded its buildings. She lists out all the materials used that she feels were left and accuses the principal of mixing them and dumping them on the tree's soil. She states that because of this, the tree is unable to grow and will eventually develop root disease. The principal still tries to play dumb, but Yeon pushes further, accusing the man of dumping all that on the tree to save him the cost of waste disposal. She feels that since he was this cruel, it's best she report the matter to City Hall and advise him to get ready to cough up more than he saved. She repeats that excretion is as important to plants as it is to humans and bids the principal goodbye, without paying attention to his shocked expression. The principal, seeing that the cat is already out of the bag, tries to reason with Yeon. He begs her to listen to him, but she isn't willing to until she gives it a little more thought and realizes that going back like this would only earn her some scolding. Because of this, she returns to the principal and tells him that she is a doctor who wants to be the voice for the trees. She adds that she is the best at saving plants and eliminating them when necessary. Nevertheless, she doesn't tell him that she loves eliminating guardians like him more than eliminating plants. Then, with a cheerful smile on her face, she hands him a complimentary card and welcomes him to visit their tree hospital often, before she leaves. On her way back to the office, Yeon complains about how her being a female doctor always makes people feel she is an easy target and motivates them to try and start a power struggle. Still, it isn't anything Yeon can't handle. After all, she has already come across various stubborn old men in her line of work. Suddenly, Yeon's conversation with herself is cut short by an incoming call. When she takes the call, she realizes it's her boss. Her boss warns her that if she doesn't come in 5 minutes, she will break down a door on the second floor. Hearing this, Yeon puts her foot on the gas while she tries to reason with her boss. Her boss explains that she is doing this because she heard another sound coming from the room. Yeon tries to tell her that she must have misheard, as sounds couldn't come from an empty room. However, her boss doesn't buy the act, informing Yeon that she has already called a locksmith. Hearing this makes Yeon panic even more, so she begs her boss to give her 3 minutes and not open the door until she gets there. Once she hangs up, the locksmith asks if he is still to unlock the door, and Yeon's boss gives him the go-ahead. It's clear she is curious to see the secrets that lie within that door, but Yeon doesn't want that. She has little time to get to the office since the locksmith claims it wouldn't take long for him to unlock the door. If Yeon is even a second late, her boss and the locksmith will know about the sleeping deviant she hides behind that door. Luckily for her, her secret might stay hidden since she can arrive at the office on time. As she makes her way up the stairs, the locksmith has just started dismantling the lock, and she arrives just in time to stop him. Yeon's boss is unhappy about the intrusion, but nonetheless, she watches her settle the locksmith and send him away. She then announces her frustration that Yeon arrived so early, stating that the lock was to be handled quickly. An annoyed Yeon rushes over to her boss, takes her by the collar, and reminds her that the second floor is off limits because it has a different owner. Her boss just nonchalantly brushes off Yeon's words, claiming that she has been making a lot of excuses to keep that room a secret. When Yeon tries to explain herself, her boss doesn't let her. She demands to know why she doesn't trust her after they have been working together for so long. Yeon suspects that there are gold bars in the room and promises she won't steal them, but she is so far from the truth. Yeon would have loved someone to steal this problem from her, but to keep her boss safe, she stands by her lie that the room is empty. Her stubborn boss tells her she would like to breathe the air in that empty room, But Yeon claims that would be unhealthy because the room isn't ventilated. She has to make sure no one enters the room, even if she is viewed as a liar, because her life would be over if anyone entered the room. Why? Well, because of some guy named Kwon Chae-woo, the deviant's elder brother that she met the day of the incident. It happened that 2 years back, she woke up imprisoned in a shady looking with this man casually seated before her. At first, she didn't know who he was, but recalled her last memory was from the mountain. Although she was confused, Yeon was calm until she noticed she was in an abattoir. The sight of meat being sliced and the stench of blood set Yeon in disarray. Kwon stayed silent, however, until he noticed she was panicking, and then he asked her why she did what she did. Yeon was scared and confused, so Kwon made himself clear by informing her that the person she tried to kill was his younger brother. That only made Yeon's panic grow, as she realized that both the deviant and his brother were insane, so she was in a terrible position. Nevertheless, she refused to stay silent, forcing herself to tell Kwon that he was misunderstanding things. She claimed she was only defending herself and wasn't even the one who dealt him the final blow. Yeon also told Kwon about how his brother killed some and was burying another, but he bluntly asked her what the deal was with burying one person. At that point, she knew she was in more trouble than she had thought. Kwon then told Yeon that he was just annoyed that his fun was interrupted and asked her how she viewed his brother. The poor girl didn't know how to answer the question. She knew she was dealing with a person who didn't grasp common sense and decided to try begging more. She pleaded that she wasn't the one who knocked out his brother and was at the mountain because she wanted to take care of the trees. She kept pleading that she wasn't the one, and knew that with the way things were going, her life would be ruined. To get herself out of this situation, she decided to snitch and informed Kwon that it was one of the persons his brother was trying to bury that struck him from behind with a stone. She also confessed to hitting the guy with a chainsaw in self-defense. But to Kwon, her story didn't add up. He claimed his brother had sharp hearing and was not so oblivious and insensitive, not to notice someone sneaking up on him from behind and striking him. Hearing that only made Yeon sorry even more. She knew she had to get out of there by any means necessary, but didn't know what to do. Luckily for her, the heavens smiled upon her, when suddenly, Kwon called Yeon by her name and told her he didn't care about the details of what happened. He could make her the perfect perpetrator if he wanted, but since she was the one who saw his brother enter into a vegetative state, he just wanted her to pay the price. Yeon didn't understand how that man entered into a vegetative state, but then understood the look on his face after she hit him with the saw. Kwon's words may have made her feel like she wasn't going to make it out of there alive, but then he offered her a deal. According to him, she would get out of there unharmed if she acted a little smarter. When she asked about the deal, he admonished her for being quick to understand and dropped a contract for her. After that, Kwon's men uncuffed her to enable her to sign the contract. Since she wasn't going to have any time to go through it, he explained that all Yeon had to do was take care of his brother until he found the real culprit and put him in her position. Kwon told Yeon that it would be better if she made sure his brother didn't leave the Hwai-dome, where they lived, and was permitted to bind him if necessary. All that happened 2 years ago. Back in present times, it's midnight and Yeon goes to check on the deviant. She observes him, thinking about how he still sleeps peacefully like a plant. All she knows about him for the past 2 years is that his name is Kwon Chae-woo. Only Yeon and Gi-seok knew what actually happened, since a day after the incident, the crime scene was already cleaned up. Because of that, the police made her pay a fine as charges of a false report. Also, the second floor of the house was built in the blink of an eye after Yeon signed the contract, and medical staff were constantly on standby to take care of him. It is all very shocking, but what shocks Yeon the most is the atmosphere of the wealthy. Gi-seok had told her it wouldn't be hard for him to make her the perfect perpetrator, and she knows those words weren't just an exaggeration. Unfortunately, that means she has to keep Chae-woo in Hwai-dome safely until the real culprit is found. Yeon knows that wouldn't be easy, so she silently prays that Chae-woo never wakes up. If he stays asleep, she can keep living quietly. So that's her daily prayer. Unfortunately for her, not all our prayers are answered, and Chae-woo's finger moving means her quiet days might be coming to an end soon. The following day, Yeon is going about her business when her boss calls and asks her to check out the son of the Seoul landscaping company. Yeon just looks up for a bit and then goes back to work, pointing out that her boss's new love interest is old enough to be her grandchild. Her boss then surprises her, informing her that this man is not for her but for Yeon. The guy has come to Korea for a marriage meeting, so Yeon sees this as the best opportunity for them. Yeon wishes to know what type of opportunity her boss is talking about, so she explains that their tree hospital needs funding. Apparently, the Dongso Hospital has taken most of its clients, and it is staying afloat with contracts from the neighborhood houses and community centers. This is because the people at the other tree hospital have good business skills, which gives Yeon a lot to consider. Last she checked, the Dongso Hospital made its entrance into Hwaidome with a 5-story building and aggressively took over everything with its persuasion skills. Still, the hospital has some secrets that Yeon knows about, and we might get to know about later. Until then, let's focus on now and how Yeon's boss feels that involving Yeon with the son of the landscaping company is like taking back what was stolen from them. The old lady even went as far as getting Yeon a queue number and suggests that she just go and have a cup of tea with the guy. Yeon audibly refuses to go through with this, and when she is asked why, she says it's because she is not a good digger. To her, this method is too sketchy, but her boss shuns her, accusing her of spewing crap. She plainly tells Yeon that she does not have the skills or personality of a good digger, so she should stop being dramatic. She adds that she is just asking Yeon to go and introduce herself and make a good impression. Now frustrated, Yeon asks her boss how she knew about the Seoul heir's return and wants a better explanation of the queue number talk. Her boss then informs her that the young man's father tipped her off, so Yeon wants to know why he would do such a thing. Well, he tipped her off because they used to work together, which is news to Yeon. Her boss doesn't know why Yeon is so surprised by this news, but she ignores it and tells her that a good spouse is not found by fate, but chosen with foresight. She also tells Yeon that even if she eats the best, she will rot with her attitude. While she is still talking, however, Yeon excuses herself, claiming she wants to go check the garden. Her excuse pisses off her boss, but the old lady just lets her have her way, wondering if she is planning to spend the rest of her life alone. Outside, under warm sun rays, Yeon thinks about how relationships are poison to her, and she just wants to live quietly, tending to her plants undisturbed. She wants things to be as peaceful as they are now, but then she recalls that she has a killer hidden in her house. His presence doesn't exactly count as nothing happening, so a lot has already happened and she just has to get used to it all eventually. When Yeon first brought Chae-woo to her home, she was terrified, scared that he could wake up at any minute so she couldn't relax. Nonetheless, as days went by and he still slumbered, her fears turned to relief. It is midnight again, the start of another day, when Yeon decides to go to bed. However, before going to bed, she has to head upstairs and check the second floor, as it has become her daily ritual. She is just doing this to make sure tomorrow is as safe as today, and pray Chae-woo doesn't wake up. Unfortunately for her, her peace and quiet are over, as Chae-woo is not in his bed. And the sight of the empty bed shakes Yeon to the core. All she can think about now is Gi-seok, and how he will come after her. She starts muttering to herself that she has to find Chae-woo no matter what. When Yeon rushes into the room properly, we see the escapee standing by the door quietly. Before she knows it, he grabs her, making her worry that she is going to die today. As Chae-woo pins Yeon down, she struggles to break free, but her efforts ultimately amount to nothing. She then starts to think about how all that's happening doesn't make sense. This man has been bedridden for 2 years, and that means his muscles should have completely atrophied, so she can't understand why he is so strong. She decides to shift that thought aside and tries to tell Chae-woo to let her go, but he doesn't listen. Since all she is doing isn't working, Yeon tells herself to calm down, and while addressing Chae-woo by his name, she tells him that his body is not in a normal state, and he'll need to let go of her so she can call a doctor. In response, he shushes her, making her panic more, but he warns her to stay quiet and answer his questions. She does as he asks and goes silent, and then he asks her if she locked him up or he locked her up. On hearing the question, Yeon screams at the top of her voice that she didn't lock him up and wonders what kind of life he has lived. Nevertheless, To get herself out of this position, she tries to tell him that it's nothing serious, and he was a patient for a long time. She breaks it to him that he's been unconscious for 2 years and begs him to calm down, but he just turns her over and looks her dead in the eye. For a second, Yeon is taken aback by his eyes, as his amber pupils glow even in the dark, like that of a beast. Still, she tries to calm him down by calling his name, but he gazes at her with a gaze so empty, like a bottomless pit. He then leans in and seeks to know if Chae-woo is probably his name. Yeon is stunned by the question and just stares at him, confused, as he asks her if she is someone important to him. Since she is lost in thought and doesn't respond, he holds a syringe to her neck and asks if the opposite is the case and if she is someone he wouldn't hesitate to kill. That's when it hits her, that Chae-woo has lost his memories. Well, if he has truly lost his memories, then Yeon plans to use this to her advantage and find a way to be safe around him. Compared to what she has faced so far, this is nothing. So Yeon puts up an act, pretending to be hurt that Chae-woo doesn't recognize her. She claims that she is important and has a connection with each other, and is someone who has met him in a much more intimate way. That's if catching him attempting murder and meeting his brother counts as intimate. Yeon finishes off her speech by claiming they are in a tangled and complicated relationship that just can't be cut off by will. By that, she means the contract she signed with Chae-woo's elder brother, Gi-seok, but no one is telling him that. After hearing all this, Chae-woo observes Yeon closely. He notices that she is shaking and asks why. He then asks her if she had her finger taken away and sold, or is there to suck off some stupid person. In the end, those questions aren't even directed at her, but are the only things he remembers. Yeon starts panicking again, but assures Chae-woo they aren't like that. She tries to convince him that they are very close and he is very kind. So kind that he put a necklace on her. Well, the necklace she is talking about is the string he had around her neck 2 years ago, but he doesn't know that. What he does know is that Yeon's replies sound like she is brainwashed, so Chae-woo feels like he really must have been a bad person. Nevertheless, Yeon assures Chae-woo she has not been brainwashed. On the contrary, she is the one trying to do the brainwashing. She then tells him that she is reacting this way because he has never harmed her, so she is surprised he is behaving this way. To her surprise, he asks her, why? It's a blank question at first, but then he makes it clear that he wants to know why he wouldn't harm her. His vibe as he asks this is cold, making it hard for Yeon to muster a response. But then Chae-woo feels a sharp pain in the head and collapses. Seeing this, Yeon starts calling his name. However, before he collapsed that night, Yeon sowed a seed. When Chae-woo asked her why he wouldn't harm her, she told him that it was because it was mandated by law. She recalled the words her boss told her earlier about how a solid partner was not found by fate, but by foresight reasoning. So, to ensure her safety, Yeon lied to Chae-woo that she was his wife. Maybe that's why he collapsed. A month has passed since the incident with Chae-woo, and Yeon is discussing with a client about her tree that was struck by lightning the previous night. Her client complains that the tree before them is the one she planted with her husband when their son was young. The boy has grown and is now in the army, making her worry that something will happen to him because of this ominous sign. Yeon simply asks for permission to sexamine the tree. When she does, she discovers that she can actually treat the damage since it has not reached the roots. Her boss, on the other hand, silently asks her if this tree is worth it. It is already in bad shape, and she is scared that if this fails, Yeon will be blamed. Nevertheless, Yeon doesn't care about that. What matters to her is that this tree is important to the old lady, as it was planted for her son's birthday. Because of that, she feels they should try everything to save it. When she asks her boss if there is any tree medicine at the office, she tells her there is, but she is about to address something else when Yeon gets a call. Maybe she wants to address how stressed Yeon has been lately, but Yeon asks for permission to take her call. When she does take it, it turns out to be a call from the hospital. The caller tells her he doesn't know when Chae-woo will wake up again. Yeon then complains about how he pinned her down the other night. The doctor explains that although Chae-woo woke up that day, after a 2-year slumber, he can't tell when he will wake up again. He informs Yeon that although Chae-woo's recovery has been rapid, he is showing rare symptoms of a sickness known as hypersomnia. The doctor adds that this sickness is also known as the sleeping beauty disease, and although they have conducted all possible tests, they cannot find its clear cause. He also noticed that aside from amnesia, Chae-woo has no other abnormality in the brain, so they can only suspect for now. According to the doctor, they have to monitor the patient a little more to see if their diagnosis is correct. Normally, when a hypersomnia patient goes to sleep, they do not know when the next person will wake up. For Chae-woo, his time increased from 3 to 5, but now it has been 12 days and he hasn't woken up. Yeon, before the doctor hands up, seeks to confirm if what he is saying is that they don't know when Chae-woo will wake up. He affirms that is what he is trying to say, and Yeon heaves a sigh of relief. She gleefully thanks the doctor and encourages him to work harder, but the doctor is stunned by the tone of her voice. When Yeon returns, she apologizes for keeping the ladies waiting, and with all life in her, promises to do her best to save the tree. Those words give the old lady hope, and also let Yeon's boss know that she has worked out her issues. The doctor, on the other hand, is still puzzled by Yeon's response. He believes she responded that way because she is under a lot of stress, and her emotions are unstable. Suddenly, the doctor recalls that he forgot to mention that the sleeping beauty disease comes with abnormal behavior, excessive eating, aggression, and hypersexuality. Instead of calling her back to let her know, he just lets this slide since they don't know when Chae-woo will wake up. He makes up his mind to inform her about this later and goes to have lunch. On his way to lunch, the doctor thinks about Gi-seok and how he must be worried about his younger brother. If it is up to him, they'd move Chae-woo to a bigger hospital with better facilities. But since it isn't up to him, he will say nothing as they take Chae-woo back to Yeon's place. What matters to him right now is collecting what he is owed and doing what he is told, so he'll stick with that. Still, what Chae-woo kept repeating when he woke up was bothering the doctor. While he was trying to rally him to talk, he kept saying, "Please don't wake up," which is actually very strange. Fast forward to a few days after her talk with the doctor, it's another ordinary night and Yeon is at home. She's about to go to bed, but before she does so, she has to check on Chae-woo. It's been 2 years since she got stuck with him, but right now she is so grateful because she can make things work to her advantage. Well, that's because a month back, she lied to Chae-woo that she was his wife. It was an insane lie which she regretted for a while, but since the one she fears is out cold and no one knows when he will wake up, she feels she has a chance to clean up her mess. To her, that's a miracle. But since he was discharged from the hospital and returned to her house today, she just wants to check on him. To her surprise, Chae-woo is not in bed. His absence makes her curse him under her breath. She runs out to the street to check for him. She knows he isn't in good shape, so he couldn't have gone far, but after running around the whole place and not finding him, she wonders what will happen if she doesn't find him. Suddenly, she spots a blood trail on the floor and her heart skips a beat. She uses her eyes to follow the blood trail, and at its end is Chae-woo, standing there with a slain rooster in hand. In his eyes, there's a cold, beastly look, frightening Yeon to the point that she starts backpedaling. Nevertheless, before she can go any further, she calls herself to order and starts thinking about how she will drag Chae-woo home. She decides to start by calmly asking him how he is out here when he can barely move. Then she tells him to put down the chicken. But he doesn't respond. When she persists, she realizes that he ripped the chicken with his mouth and gets irritated. She is about barfing out of disgust when Chae-woo asks her where she has been. He tells her that the only face he remembered when he woke up was hers, and since the door didn't open, he broke it down to go look for her. All this helps Yeon confirm that he remembers her, which is why she starts panicking again. Luckily for her, she wills herself into calming down, encouraging herself by thinking about how much room she has to change things to her advantage. Instead of riding on with the wife lie, she decides to tell him he is getting things wrong and lies that she is the doctor taking care of him. She is a tree doctor after all. Yeon tries to explain Chae-woo's condition to him in the best way possible, focusing on how he has slumbered for long, which is why he is unstable now. She also tries to make him believe that he is just hearing and seeing things that are messing with his brain. She concludes her sorry speech by assuring Chae-woo that there's nothing to worry about, and everything he is experiencing now is a dream. She then promises him that if he goes back home and has proper rest, when he wakes up, he will feel much better. It's a bold lie, and at first it looks like Chae-woo is buying it, because he agrees that if it were real, he probably wouldn't even be standing here. Suddenly, he confesses that he had spent his whole time asleep, dreaming about being intimate with his wife. Because of that, he is sure he is not confused. In fact, he gets things crystal clear now. In this crystal clear view of his, he has a wife, and that wife is trying to run away from him like she has a death wish. Hearing those words come out of Chae-woo's lips makes her feel like vines are holding her down, but she can't do anything about them. Right now, she wants to run away. She also wants to tell Chae-woo that he is wrong. She wants to say anything to get her out of this mess, but she can't. Why? Because she just got caught in a trap she set. It's all so suffocating and she can't move, at least until Chae-woo asks for her name. She wonders if she should tell him her real name or not, but he has asked twice and is getting impatient. Out of that impatience, he tells her he doesn't want to ask the third time, so she hurriedly tells him her name is So Lee-yeon. After pondering on her name for some seconds, before asking her if she lied to him because she got tired of him and wanted to ditch him. Yeon claims that he is seeing things wrongly. She tells him that she lied because she felt him waking up to realize he has a wife would be disturbing and she was just looking out for him. It looks like he is buying Yeon's lie again, and all she can think about is how she needs to survive this situation. However, he scolds her for pulling such a stunt on him and reminds her of her own declaration that the law says they are married. He then wants to know if Yeon is trying to abandon him, observing her closely as he asks. He concludes from the puppy dog look in Yeon's eyes that he truly is her husband. He also feels that way because when she tried to abandon him, he almost lost his mind. Chae-woo believes he felt that way because he really loves Yeon, but she knows that's not the case, as he tried to eliminate her the day they met. It's no surprise that she is annoyed that she has dragged herself into a very awkward position, but is glad that Chae-woo doesn't remember anything. For now, she feels like she has the upper hand and just needs to smooth things over before getting out of the picture. For now, however, she has to focus on getting Chae-woo home so she can treat his wounds. Unfortunately, he wants to know if she means their newlywed home, and she has no other option than to agree. It looks like she is already losing control. Well, whether Yeon has control of everything or not, she manages to drag Chae-woo home and is visibly exhausted because of that. He notices this and points it out. But Yeon doesn't tell him that she is exhausted because of the many questions he threw at her on their way home. Maybe she's also exhausted because she had to drag Chae-woo in a cart, so he tells her that he really would have been able to walk on his own. She knows that, but states that she couldn't let him walk on his own because his body was already covered in wounds. In truth, she didn't let him walk on his own because she knew that if something happened to him, she would be held responsible. With that out of the way, Yeon asks Chae-woo to go take a shower and change his clothes, while she will go get the first aid kit. He does as she asks, and in a few minutes, they are seated on his bed, with Yeon taking care of his injuries. While dressing his wounds, Yeon can tell Chae-woo is in quite a bit of pain. Still, he shows no sympathy. Suddenly, she looks up and their eyes meet, forcing her to look away immediately. She goes back to dressing the wound, asking herself why Chae-woo is staring at her so intently. She sees him as a beast stalking its prey, recalling that he is a killer, and whether he is in pain or not is not something she should be concerned about. All that matters to her now is finishing this up quickly, which she does. When she is finished, Yeon tells Chae-woo that she has just done first aid, and the medical team will come around tomorrow to check on him better. She also tells him that she'll be heading downstairs, so he asks why. The question doesn't make sense to Yeon, until Chae-woo reminds her that they are a married couple, so they shouldn't be sleeping apart. Panic sets in again, but she tries to calm down and explain to Chae-woo that they can't sleep together because he is still a patient. He agrees that he is, but wants them to sleep together since he is no longer in a vegetative state. In all her planning, Yeon never saw this coming, and as Chae-woo draws closer to her, she starts to understand how terrible the lie she told is. Luckily for her, he pulls back for a second and declares that since he is not like the husband she knows, he will just lie there like a vegetable and breathe. He promises not to treat her carelessly. force her or threaten her like he did back then, and asks Yeon to spend the night with him. Obviously, she isn't in a position to disagree, so she does as he asks and lies there, next to a killer. Now that they are both in bed, Chae-woo admits that there is a lot he wishes to ask Yeon. She is praying he just sleeps a bit, but still asks him what he is most curious about. It's then he seeks to know how he ended up in a vegetative state. Yeon is annoyed by Chae-woo's persistence, but quickly whips up a lie for him. She shares a half-truth about the incident, stating that they were in the mountains and they fell badly. Hearing this makes Chae-woo worry, demanding to know if Yeon fell as well. She claims she did, but didn't sustain any serious injury. She expected that to be the final question, but Chae-woo tasks her with another one, seeking to know when they got married. She replies that it was 2 years ago. Another half-truth. He doesn't know that and feels like he is the worst, believing that it was because of him that Yeon didn't have a honeymoon. She is surprised by his response, viewing it as a sensible response, when he gets curious again and asks her when they started dating. It's a tough question on its own, but even tougher because Yeon has no imagination and can't cook up any story for him. She knows that she will be busted if he digs deep into her lies and decides to tell Chae-woo that they got married after they met. She doesn't know if this lie is very believable until he asks her if they had a one-night stand. He wants to know if they got intimate on their first meeting and concluded they were meant to be together, a question that causes Yeon to wither. Chae-woo finds that funny, feeling bad that he had forgotten something like that and calls Yeon bold. She ends up losing it and denies things going that way, causing him to think he was the one who seduced her. He finds that both funny and shameless, but Yeon is more interested in why the conversation is heading in the intimate direction. She is not okay with the atmosphere and feels that since they are already sharing a blanket, intimacy is next. She knows she has to stop this from going any further and agrees with Chae-woo that his story is right, even though it didn't play out exactly as he assumes it did. She states that they didn't have good chemistry in the bedroom, confusing him in the process. She now has to lie to Chae-woo that the intimate moment wasn't quite what he was hoping for, blaming it on the both of them being clumsy. To him, this is more shocking than having lost his memory, and he wants to know where exactly he got things wrong. After searching her mind for any knowledge she had gathered all her life to bail her out of this, she comes up with the best excuse. He is next to impotent, and she likes it. As she hoped, the lie crushes Chae-woo's spirit and makes him question if he is truly monk-like, as she claims. She adds that it was because of this that they kept things platonic. Now that his mood is killed and he is feeling insulted, Chae-woo wants to know how much Yeon loves him, for her to stick with him so long after everything. She is annoyed that the misunderstanding is deepening endlessly, but now sees it as a good thing, but tells Chae-woo to go to sleep for now. To keep Chae-woo in check, Yeon knows she needs to ensure that he misunderstands more. She has done a good job staying alive so far and waits till she feels Chae-woo is asleep, so she can pray. She prays that he falls into a deep sleep, a week if possible. To her surprise, he isn't asleep yet and still wants to know about their first intimate moment. It's all to Yeon's advantage, as she uses this opportunity to make him feel even worse about himself. Once he is silenced, she returns to her prayer, using Chae-woo's interference to her advantage as she begs that this man sleep for as long as possible and that his sleeping beauty syndrome kicks in. By morning, rays of sunlight pierce the room, waking Yeon up. When she opens her eyes fully, she realizes that her prayers have not been answered, and Chae-woo is very much awake. He asks Yeon if she slept well, and the room goes silent for a bit. After a few seconds of silence, Yeon jolts out of bed, screaming at the top of her voice in shock. While Chae-woo doesn't understand why she is acting this way, she asks herself why he is awake. She recalls he is supposed to have hypersomnia and calls the doctor to explain what's going on. When he comes, he runs a few tests on Chae-woo and declares that it's too early for them to jump to conclusions. According to him, the patient could go back to sleep anytime, and they need his sleep data to establish a clear pattern. Nevertheless, what Yeon understands is that Chae-woo can wake up again tomorrow. By observation, the doctor realizes that something might have triggered him to wake up, since the hospital and the house have different environments, and asks him what he thinks that thing might be. He is busy jotting down everything when Chae-woo mentions that his sharing a bed with his wife may have been what triggered him to wake up. The doctor casually puts this down before focusing on the whole talk about him having a wife. Now that he has come to his senses, he looks towards Yeon, who avoids his gaze. What the doctor understands is that Yeon and Chae-woo got intimate, but she denies that. So he gets back to his clipboard, suggesting they try a few different approaches. It's not really his business and he is in it for the money. So the doctor suggests they do their best to continue sleeping together for him to monitor their situation. Those words are words Yeon was not expecting. There is no running away from this, so she is trapped in a pit hole she created. Some hours later, Yeon is in her living room, staring at the TV blankly, while thinking about how she is supposed to share a house with Chae-woo. Aside from that, she also has to say something to her boss, Chuja, if Chae-woo starts roaming on the first floor. She comes up with a lot of excuses, but even she can tell none of them will work. For her, who knows nothing about relationships, to lie to a woman like Chuja, who knows everything about relationships, is next to impossible. Although she has become exhausted, doing this by herself and Chuja would make a good aid, Yeon knows she can't drag her into this. The contract she signed with Gi-seok stated that if the contract leaks to another person, they will be seen as an accomplice. As she kneels on the floor thinking of what to do, the reporter on the TV keeps going on about some scam and advises viewers not to handle things alone, but with the police or someone they trust. This is as good as a sign that Yeon will get, which is why she calls Chuja into the matter. She gives her a rundown on how things have been for the past 2 years and gets a beatdown for keeping such a serious secret. Chuja demands to know why Yeon used the wife excuse, so Yeon tells her that she needed to give the guy an excuse. After all, he attacked her the moment he woke up. Even upon that excuse, Chuja does not approve. According to her, the moment Yeon said she had a romantic relationship with Chae-woo, she got entangled with him. Yeon is not cool with that truth, shunning her for giving their victim-perpetrator relationship another name. An annoyed Chuja announces her lack of interest in the matter, and that's okay with her. She just wants to be treated like a married woman. To Chuja, Yeon is ruining her life with her own hands, and she wants to know where the guy is now. Apparently, he went for physical therapy at the hospital and would be back soon. Well, soon comes sooner than they expected, and Chae-woo's voice is heard in the distance, calling out to Yeon. The voice comes from behind Chuja, who turns around to see who the man of the hour is. The room goes silent because of his glare, and Yeon whispers to her, asking her to be careful. She fears for her boss, but then Chuja announces that her son-in-law has arrived, willingly dragging herself into this mess to Yeon's surprise. This is Chae-woo's first time in this room, so he has a look around the place, allowing him to discover that Yeon is a tree doctor. He has never heard about a tree doctor and gets curious about what he did for a living before the accident. Her swift thinking helps her translate ending lives to him planting flowers at the hospital. Through her lie, Chuja can see how Yeon was able to sweet-talk Chae-woo into believing her. At the moment, she wonders if Chae-woo really did all the things she was told he did, judging him by how angelic his face looks. He cuts her thinking short, however, by calling her mother-in-law, taking the ladies by surprise. He doesn't notice their shock and tells them that he wants to sit with Yeon. He is waiting for a response, staring at our girl innocently, but she mistranslates the look and rushes to his side due to fear. Chuja, on the other hand, sees that what she fears has already begun. From experience, she knows that relationships don't start and end the way we want them to, especially with a guy like this. Yeon doesn't know this. And at the moment, she is focused on trying to save Chuja some stress by explaining to Chae-woo that she isn't actually his mother-in-law. She explains that she is just a hospital staff, and because they've known each other for long, she calls him son-in-law. Hearing this makes Chae-woo conclude that Chuja is important to Yeon, so he has to make a good impression and apologizes to her. Since he was told that he was a kind and well-mannered guy, he asks Chuja and she confirms Yeon's words. He assures her that he will try his best to be the husband Yeon remembers, but is certain it won't take him too long. Why? Because the doctor told him that in no time his instincts would lead him back to the man he was. If that happens, Yeon will be at a disadvantage, which is why she tells Chae-woo that he doesn't need to rush. She states that if he rushes, he might hurt himself and tells him to take it easy. While doing this, she addresses him formally, which is why he asks her to address him casually. Again, he tells her that the only thing he has in his mind is her face. Nothing else. As he says this, he observes Yeon's face some more, declaring that if he also forgets her face, it'll make him a bad husband. This moment of closeness causes Yeon's heart to pound. Although the look on her face means she is enjoying the moment, she tells herself that she is reacting this way because she is afraid of him and nothing more. Chuja watches the pair, thinking about how what's happening is not normal, but the first thing she has to do is find out who Chae-woo is. By nighttime, Yeon collapses on her bed, exhausted. She had spent the whole day trying to get Chae-woo off her tail, which tired her out. She now knows that if he keeps waking up healthy every day, this is how her life will be. And thinking about that makes her cry. Yeon plans on getting through this night in one piece and recalls the doctor instructing her to stay with Chae-woo, everything, so they observe things better. The more she thinks about that instruction, the more she wonders why she should listen to it. She only agreed to keep an eye on him until they found the real culprit. Suddenly, Chae-woo is at Yeon's door, begging her to tell him that all this is not a dream, and he is not losing his mind. He begs her for any proof to show that he once existed, and she just stands there, on the other side of the door. The last time Chae-woo went out, he broke through all the doors in the house like they were nothing. Yet here he was, unable to break her room's door. All this is because she lied to him that he was kind, polite, and gentle. Those lies are now holding him back. She should feel happy about this, but instead she feels something else. Nevertheless, she tells him that she just got out of the shower, so it's not a good time for them to go down memory lane. He agrees with her, announcing his intention to head upstairs and take a shower as well. With this, she knows she has been able to control Chae-woo, who asks her to take care of herself before he leaves. Yeon wonders why Chae-woo sounds like he is going somewhere far away, but doesn't pay much attention to it. After a long day of being bothered by Chae-woo, she went to bed, only to suffer nightmares of him all night. By afternoon, some days later, she goes to check on him and discovers he is fast asleep. He looks so cute while he is asleep that Chuja can't help but admire him. Lee-yeon, seeing that her carelessness might end up waking Chae-woo, warns her to be careful. Chuja doesn't pay attention to the warning, however. Instead, she demands that Yeon tell her the truth about how she met Sleeping Beauty over here. She accuses Yeon of peeking when Chae-woo was showering and he caught her, leading to this whole mess. But she denies it. The accusation causes Yeon to feel embarrassed, so she declares they have done enough talking and need to head downstairs before Chae-woo wakes up. On the contrary, Chuja believes Yeon's loudness is what will wake him up and feels bad because she wants to sneak one last look at his pretty face. Chae-woo had been asleep for a week since that night, and Yeon's nerves have calmed down because of that. Now she is discussing having lunch with Chuja, recalling that before he left that night, he told her to take care of herself. She can't tell if he knew he was going to be asleep for this long, but before she can think on the matter some more, Chuja calls out to her. It finally looks like she has gotten her peaceful life back, but you know, danger is always lurking in the corner. Maybe that danger might come sooner than later, since Yeon has a nightmare that has her screaming back to consciousness. This nightmare feels like no other, and has Chuja rushing into Yeon's room to find out what's wrong. She tells her that it was just a bad dream and apologizes for being late for work. Chuja is cool with this, however, claiming that there is no need for her to apologize since there was next to nothing for them to do, so she let her rest. On days that didn't have that much work, Chuja feels it's best to relax, but Yeon doesn't share that belief. She feels it's on days like this that she must work even harder. She decides by starting to check one of the trees they are caring for and struggles to get out of bed to do so. She complains that she is worried about the tree and believes someone must be harming it again. Chuja doesn't think this is a good idea and tries to talk Yeon out of it, but she does not listen. Instead, she leaves to get ready. She is frustrated by our girl's behavior, but lets it slide. It's no surprise that she can't see that something is up with Yeon, who is trying to tell herself that today will be a normal day. A few hours later, she is ready and heads to the city to check on the tree. After she's done with that, she goes to have a word with the shop owner she feels is harming the tree. But he isn't ready for this today. He immediately tells her to leave, but she doesn't listen. accusing the man of knowing a variety of ways to kill trees. She lists out the man's previous methods, and the growing commotion catches his customer's attention. Seeing this, the man tries to calm Yeon down, telling her that suing him for this is going too far. To prevent his customers from eavesdropping further, he decides to take their discussion outside. Once outside, he asks Yeon why she is so interested in what he does to a tree outside his store. He reveals to her that everyone knows she ratted out the principal of the elementary school, and her hospital will crumble if she keeps pulling stunts like this. Yeon gets emotional and claims she knows this might shut down her hospital, but she can't stop because no one else will defend the trees. Apparently, the shop owner wants to get rid of the tree because it's blocking his restaurant's sign. She feels he is doing this because he sees the tree as a non-living thing, but it's alive. Sure, humans get to decide who gets to live and who gets to die, but trees don't have that privilege. They are only focused on surviving with their roots. Somehow trees remind Yeon of herself when she was young. Maybe that's why she is about to break down when she asks the man what gives him the right to kill the tree. The day passes, and when night arrives, Yeon is seated thinking deeply. Her day was loud, the loudest she has had in a while. Maybe that's why she is so down. Or maybe it's because she hasn't been getting enough sleep. It had been a long, peaceful week as she wanted, and nothing happened as she hoped. Added to that, Chae-woo didn't wake up. She should be happy. But now, after experiencing some commotion, she realizes how silent the peaceful nights are. Recently, she hasn't even had time for idle thinking, wondering if she is going through some kind of dopamine addiction when she hears a loud sound. It's coming from the second floor, so she goes to check it out. When she gets there, she realizes that Chae-woo is still fast asleep, but then notices he's crying. Seeing him cry startles her, and an array of thoughts flood her mind. Finally, she concludes that Chae-woo is having a nightmare, which she feels is karma for him living such a bad life. At least she thinks that way until he starts begging that someone hide him. It's now that all Chuja's claims that Chae-woo is handsome flood Yeon's mind. She sits there, staring at him, seeing him as a deer being chased by a hunter. Out of compassion, she can't help but feel bad for him and tells him not to cry, wiping his tears. Even though he is asleep, Yeon tells him about how crying never helps. Back in the day, she used to cry, but no one listened. All she had were the flowers. Today, she tasted the soil from the tree at the restaurant, and it tasted salty, which it shouldn't be. Right now, to her, he looks a lot like that tree. She has a bad feeling about this, suspecting that these bad dreams are why Chae-woo woke up a week ago and the reason why he hasn't woken up now. This is a bad idea. Yeon knows that, but she still hops into bed with him. Finally, before dozing off, Yeon tells Chae-woo that today is her birthday and the day she wanted to cry as well. They look like a cute couple, helping each other get through harsh times. As expected, the next day, Chae-woo wakes up. Looks like the doctor's hunch was right after all. Upon waking up, at first, Chae-woo feels sluggish, but then he feels something by his side and gets scared. He only calms down after discovering it's Yeon, who is still fast asleep and decides to observe her. To him, she is a doctor, his wife, and the only face he can remember, and he can tell at first glance why she is his wife and has to be his wife. Memories of his time with Yeon recently run through his mind as he thinks about how he couldn't spare a moment to take his eyes off her. Yet he doesn't understand why she keeps looking at him the way she does. Why she smiles like it's awkward, and why her ring finger has no marks is awkward to him. But there's also the issue of no wedding pictures in their home or the door that never opened. So many questions, but the most important to him is whether or not Yeon loved him enough to wait 2 years for him. It's all very peaceful, until Yeon wakes up and he greets her. Normally, she'd yell at the top of her voice and hurry out of bed, but this time she reacted less harshly. Still, Chae-woo can see something is up. He lets it slide, nonetheless, announcing that his body feels stiff and wants to know how long he has been asleep. When Yeon tells him that yesterday was his 8th day of slumber, he admits that now he understands that she has control of his mornings. From afar, they really look like a regular couple. But deep down, Yeon doesn't like how this is going, and Chae-woo suspects that she is his wife who is trying to run from him. Even if that turns out to be the case, he doesn't care, because he has no intention of letting her go. He plans on making do with the morning time and leaving the night to Yeon, and also wants to start moving rooms. All this because he's not crazy enough to let go of the only memory he has. In the end, this resolve will affect Yeon's normal life. Speaking of normal life, late into the morning, Yeon is discussing with Chuja about the hospital and some other important issues, like the meeting they are to go to, when she spots Chae-woo lurking around. He senses something is wrong with Yeon and asks about it. Well, she is reacting this way because she feels Chae-woo is committing identity laundering. On him is the haircut Chuja gave him and the clothes she got for him, when she would rather have him in hospital clothes all the time. All this time she tried to keep him locked inside, but things had to end this way. Since Chuja got involved, now he wants to tag along for the meeting. Yeon doesn't want him to come because she isn't confident enough to lie to many people. Then there's the possibility of Chae-woo's memories coming back, which is why she has to stop all this somehow. Yeon's idea of stopping this is to try to get Chae-woo back inside to rest, but he asks her if she is sending him inside out of worry that he will make a mistake. Which is true, but she claims that's not it. She knows he is unto her now and has to come up with an excuse to get him back inside. The only thing she can come up with now is that outside is dangerous, especially for Chae-woo. He gets curious, wanting to know why it's dangerous, when she tells him that it's more dangerous for him because he is handsome. She goes all Super Saiyan, yelling at the top of her voice how the place they are going is filled with old men who will be jealous of Chae-woo if they see him. When she is done, the place is quiet, making her wonder if she overdid it. Luckily for her, her plan worked and he believes he is so pretty that Yeon wants to hide him. It's not what she was trying to say, but she rides on this anyway and tells him she just wants him to stay at home. He believes she wants this so that she will be the only one seeing him, which is also not true. But Yeon lets him believe it is. She states that they are still newlyweds, although the accident put them on pause, so she wants to be the only one seeing him for now. If that's the case, he also doesn't want Yeon to go outside. That's almost impossible. But then he promises her that even if they are outside, he will do what she says. All his smooth talking gets to Yeon, who is taken aback by his way with words. Once they are done debating, Chuja, who has been silent all along, calls out to them, informing them that now that's settled, they should get going. It's their first outing with Chae-woo and they are going to some meeting. The meeting takes place at Grand Haight and is about the Wydome project bid. In attendance are a lot of men who do not like Yeon. As she walks by with Chuja, they gossip about her, talking about how she is a young person but is unapproachable and gives off a widow vibe. The men may not like her, but they don't seem to have a problem with Chuja, who they feel grows more beautiful as she ages. Yeon can feel they are talking about her, because in an industry filled with men in their 60s and 50s, a tree hospital run by two women is bound to attract attention. It is at a time like this, with tensions rising, that Chae-woo feels it's best to hold Yeon's hand. He then politely asks her if she wants him to take the eyes or mouths of the people gossiping about her. All she has to do is point, but just thinking about this makes Yeon envision the newsworthy massacre that will take place afterwards. To prevent that, she assures Chae-woo that she wants neither and he shouldn't joke about something so terrifying. The stern look on Yeon's face as she scolds him puzzles him, making him wonder if he wasn't being nice just now. He wants to know if he really shouldn't retaliate, and she can see the blind faith and ignorance in his eyes. For some reason, he no longer seems scary, allowing Yeon to stand her ground and remind him that he clearly promised her he would only do what she allows and hold his hand. In the end, that's all it takes to convince Chae-woo to agree and calm down. Suddenly, Yeon notices that the room has gone quiet and wonders why. When she looks around, she can see that all eyes are on her and Chae-woo, but then the announcement that the meeting is about to begin and order that all affected parties should come to the conference hall saves the day. Yeon has to go and Chuja and Chae-woo wish her good luck as they wave. However, on her way to the conference room, she notices that her hands are warm and wonders if she absorbed Chae-woo's body heat. Not too long after this, the meeting starts and the presentation is underway. From the look of it, the project holds promise and even leaves Yeon awestruck. It's all peaceful until the announcement that this project will make the best botanical garden in Korea, and the tree hospital that wins the bid will get premium clients. A furious man stands up, demanding to know if they are deciding on a botanical garden bid at a general auction. One of the hosts agrees, stating that they want to entrust things to the most outstanding tree doctor, as this project will feature a lot of rare, valuable plants. They cannot waste such an opportunity on someone who will come then and misuse the funds, and Lee-yeon silently agrees. The host announces that tree doctors will compete for this bid, and the process to compete will be featured in promotional videos later on. After stating all the entry necessities, he announces that the selected hospital will get a 10-year contract with them, an offer that gets the room buzzing but makes Yeon feel bad, because she isn't planning on participating. After the meeting, she tells this to the gang, and Chuja wants to know why she will turn down such a great opportunity. She is mostly worried that they will film her, making Chae-woo want to know why that's a problem. In her opinion, she would rather just live a peaceful life than to end up on TV and things get messy. They aren't done debating when a familiar person calls Yeon. This person is Kwon Chae-woo, and according to him, they haven't seen each other in a long time, even though they live in the same area. Under his smile, he sounds offended that she didn't even glance at him during the meeting, and it's obvious Yeon doesn't like him. This man is a director of Tree Hospital, Yeon's former boss. She acts all cool until his disciple comes to greet her. The guy's name is Hwang Jo-yoon, and she never thought she would see his face again. Kwon Chae-woo believes that Yeon and this guy got along well and suggests they try getting along again. Yet there's a reason why Yeon didn't think she'd see him again and can't understand why Kwon Chae-woo would say such a thing with a smile. A few years after Yeon graduated, she interned at this man's tree hospital. She was the lowest in the hierarchy there and didn't like the working environment. Still, she endured it all because she had to complete the internship so she could start her own hospital. Everything was easy to overlook, except the fact that this guy in glasses, Jo-yoon, kept stalking her. He kept watching and trying to control her, pushing her to complain to Kwon Chae-woo, and he dismissed her, but dares to act like this today. It looks like Chuja doesn't know this story, which is why she leaves with that horrible man, to allow Yeon and Jo-yoon to catch up. When the creep tries to touch her, reflex action causes her to run into Chae-woo's arms. Out of concern, Chae-woo asks her if she is feeling uneasy, and wants to know if Jo-yoon is someone he knows. She can see he is worried if that guy is a friend he has forgotten due to memory loss. Yeon assures him that he doesn't know that guy, as he was her senior back when she was an intern. During their discussion, Jo-yoon is just there watching in disbelief, demanding to know who Chae-woo is. Cheekily, Chae-woo smiles and asks Yeon to introduce him. With both men asking the same thing, Yeon starts panicking, but finally introduces Chae-woo as the man she lives with. Looks like this creep hasn't let go of his list for Yeon, since he looks so shocked and asks Yeon if she is married. She is in quite the pickle now, sweating profusely because her attempt to make things look vague has now backfired on her. Nevertheless, during all this panicking, she has failed to answer Jo-yoon's question. Chae-woo, who wants her to answer it, tells her to just nod a yes. But since she doesn't, he does the affirmation himself, by introducing himself as Yeon's husband. You'd think that would calm Jo-yoon down, but it doesn't. Instead, he starts going on about how Yeon is not the type of person who would get married. He knew her as someone who hated getting involved with people, a woman who spent her days looking at trees and her nights making fertilizer. The way he sees it, no one else will put up with that except him. His desperate words make Yeon realize that he hasn't changed. He is still the man who defined his own terms, who got worked up whenever she stepped outside his box. What a creep, and this attitude is what Yeon hates the most about him. He pisses her off, so she decides to set him straight, announcing how okay she has been all the years since she left that hospital. She adds that she is married, has her own hospital, and is no longer someone he can look down on, but Jo-yoon refuses to believe Yeon is married to Chae-woo. Out of annoyance, he demands she show him a family registration certificate so he can believe her. Yeon is about to respond to this claim when Chae-woo breaks things up by warning Jo-yoon that he will kill him if he doesn't shut up. She can now see that it was too soon to bring him out. It looks like Chae-woo's old self is kicking in as he makes a move toward Jo-yoon. but Yeon stops him and excuses her and Chae-woo. Before he can say anything more, Yeon has bolted. When they get outside, she catches her breath, thinking about how they just escaped a shot at making the news. When Chae-woo asks if she is okay, she claims she is and throws a question of her own, requesting to know why he said he'd killed Jo-yeon. With his answer, she will be able to tell whether she should minimize his contact with people or not, but he just apologizes. Yeon tells him that she is not looking for an apology, but is just surprised since she has never seen him behave that way. He explains that the more Jo-yoon kept calling her name, the more he got angry but held back, even though he wanted to take off his mouth. Yeah, this is all Yeon needs to know. She needs to keep Chae-woo away from society. Well, at least until he informs her that he could see she was holding back tears. Yeon now understands that she is the one who determines Chae-woo's mood. In other words, her emotions transfer to him, and that's all that's on her mind during the drive home. She now knows that if she acts unsettled around him, he might snap and go wild, so he has to stay composed when she is around him. As they say, the person holding a beast's leash needs the courage to handle it. At home, Yeon tells everyone she wants to enter the competition. She is doing it for the trees, and also because she wants to see her former workplace fall. While she gives her fired-up speech, Chae-woo serves them tea, and Chuja wants to know why Yeon has changed her mind when she was worried about getting filmed. Yeon still wants to give this a shot, believing she will be eliminated before filming starts. Chuja supports the idea, but even though Yeon doesn't like standing before cameras, her grudge is real, and this is a step at her getting stronger. By the time Yeon and Chuja finish discussing, it's already late, so they see her off. Now it's just her and Chae-woo who apologizes to her. He is apologizing because he isn't good with tree hospital matters, but she assures him it's cool, informing him that he was always like that. Her own words cause her to remember something, so she decides to ask Chae-woo a question, something she starts regretting immediately. She still goes on to ask what she has in mind, which is that from now on he looks at happy and beautiful things. The atmosphere starts getting warm, and Chae-woo admits that doing this will not be difficult. They end up staring into each other's eyes. But then Yeon notices the creepy atmosphere and announces that she is sleepy and will shower before going to bed. She thinks she is out of the river, until Chae-woo wants to know if he should bathe her, putting her brain on pause for a second. When she recovers, she yells out a cry of surprise, which Chae-woo doesn't understand, since this is something couples do. The drama is just beginning. Want us to continue? Comment Yeon below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, ciao.